Personally, I can't think of many worse things than a break-in. It's so violating on a personal and an emotional level. Not only do you lose your prized possessions, but you lose your feeling of safety. Joining me today sharing these stories is my good friend Bab Vibe Storytelling. I featured him recently and you guys all seem to enjoy him. So today, if you enjoy his voice, please go and check out his channel, which you can find in the description down below. If you enjoy stories like break-in stories and creepy online stories, his channel is the one for you. If you have a story you would like to share in a future video, whether it be true or fictional, I would love to share it. Submit it at swampdweller.net or the email you can find in the description down below. Now, let's get into these allegedly true, creepy break-in stories. In late 2010, in October, I was spending the night with one of my best friends from high school. We had spent all night at Waffle House and other such places and hadn't made it to sleep yet. One of our friends came over to stay at around 3 in the morning. After we had eaten and watched a couple of movies on Netflix, we dozed off until her mom left for work at about 6:30 a.m. At around 7, she went out to check the tires for her car. She had been having trouble with them staying inflated. She came back and woke up our friend, asking if she could drive her and her little brother to take him to school. He grunted his affirmative answer and started getting up to do so. She went out to her car to get her wallet and move it to his car. After just a few moments, she came flying back in the house. She slammed and locked the door and ran over to us, barely able to tell us that there was a man walking down her driveway carrying a very large duffel bag. Within moments of telling us about this man, there was a banging and pounding on the door. At this point, we were all 100% awake. In a situation like this, your brain stops working. Everything around you starts moving at a pace of a snail, except for the banging. That was moving so fast. I just knew for sure that this guy was going to break down the door and kill us before we even got a chance to move. I got my friend's phone to call 911. For some reason, it did not occur to me to use mine. Even cell phones that were out of service could make a 911 call. After trying for what felt like 5 minutes, it was really only 30 seconds, we got her phone unlocked and I called the police. I am the type that when I am horrified beyond the point of reasonable thought, I sound calm. I quietly told the dispatcher that someone was trying to break into my friend's house, that we were trapped and we needed help right away. The entire time there was yelling and begging coming from the man on the other side of the door. Apparently, the dispatcher didn't really believe me. She hung up after saying she would send the cops to the address. It took them 45 minutes to get to us. We sat there, too horrified to do anything for 45 minutes. 45 minutes, in that time, 3 adults and 1 child could have been murdered. When the police finally got there, they didn't believe us until we pointed to the dents and damage at the door. We were just a few kicks away from who knows what. We came out lucky. On the local news that night, there was a story about a couple that had been beaten nearly to death in the area. The suspect was a man carrying a large duffel bag.
This happened May of last year. I was staying with my ex-mother-in-law for the past year while my son and I got back on our feet after leaving my abusive ex. She lives in a fairly decent neighborhood. Not one of those rich ones with HOA, but not one of the crackhead ones either. Just a simple mid-class neighborhood. Back in March and April, there had been reports on our neighborhood site about some cars being broken into, presumably by kids. Not a huge deal. And after not keeping anything important in my car, anyways, we all kind of brushed it off. One night I was feeling pretty sick, and she offered to watch my son if I wanted to go downstairs for the night. Grateful for the offer, I accepted and made my way downstairs. At this point I feel like I should explain more about the layout. Upstairs is a finished 3 bedrooms, 2-bath style house. The downstairs is a garage that was finished and turned into 3 extra bedrooms. 2 of the bedrooms are off to the left side, and the other one is on the other side. You have to pass the laundry room and a storage room to get to the other one, which is the one I slept in. This room is completely closed off from the rest of the house. In the storage room, there is a door that leads outside. This door is kept deadbolted and chained at all times. Keep this in mind. So I climb in bed. It's probably 9ish, and I fall asleep fairly quickly. The rest of this is kind of a blur. At some point of the night, I start hearing noises, which I brush off as someone walking around upstairs, and go back asleep. The noises wake me up a few more times before I realize that they're in the room. At this point, I think a cat must have gotten into the room, so I didn't get up, but I glanced around the room, and I could see almost the entire room from where I was laying. Over by the window, I see a white thing moving. I realized that the cat had just followed me down without me noticing. Aggravated, I go to get up, and I realize what I'm seeing. It's not our white cat. It's not even a cat at all. It's the curtain and something coming through the window. At this point, I froze. I didn't know what to do. I just laid there and watched someone climb through the window and stand up. He was wearing a hat and stood at average male height. I could tell he was looking my way, but I couldn't make any features out. He walked over to my bed and leaned over till we were face to face. I didn't know if he could see my eyes open. I wanted to scream and say something, but I knew nobody could hear me upstairs. My heart was pounding, and it took everything I had to stay still and not scream. I didn't know what to do. The man was less than a foot away from my face as he leaned over my bed. I thought about making a move or saying something, but I couldn't make my mouth or body move. I was just paralyzed. He then turned and walked away out of the room. I heard the deadbolt to the door outside click, and the door opened, and he left. I heard him then come and close the window. I realized the noises I heard earlier was him prying the window open. I called my ex-mother-in-law as I was hysterical and so scared to move. She didn't believe me. She told me everything was locked up and it was just a nightmare. I got up and checked the window to find it had been pried open. She finally came downstairs, and the door that leads to the outside was unlocked. All 3 locks were undone. This is the point that she realized that I wasn't making this up. We never figured out who it was or what they wanted, and we haven't had any issues since then.
This happened a while ago, but I just never really sent it into the show. However, since it's been a year after the incident, I figured this would be a good place to share this, as it is about someone I never ever want to come across again. It all started and ended the day after I took my final at this community college. I don't know if he was a stalker or if it was a break-in gone weird. So, from the beginning, I was so nervous that I was going to fail this one class and was not going to be able to receive my AA degree. Later in the day, I was out at a pool at my apartment complex with some friends and my roommates when I checked my phone and saw I passed my class. I got so excited I told everyone we were celebrating because I was the last one to have a final. It was 3 days before I got to walk and graduate with this degree that I decided we should have some fun before we all went our separate ways. As it got later into the night, we decided not to go out and to stay in. We invited a couple more people over and went on with the night. After 2 in the morning, people started to leave and head to bed. The only people left were my 2 roommates, both of the people they were dating and one other friend. We were still messing around, and because our apartment was on the first floor next to the pool, we went to go night swimming. As soon as we were done with that, I was ready just to hang out and be in good for the night. My roommates and the other friend all left to go somewhere else for a little while, which was fine, and it wasn't out of the ordinary for me to be at home alone. I got some food and went to my room to hang out until they got back. The way my room is set up in our apartment is that it's all the way the furthest in the back from the front door and the patio door. My room is behind the kitchen and you'd have to go through the entire apartment to get there. Because our apartment was in front of the complex and near the pool, it was near the front gate. At the time, the gate was left open because it was broken. I have never had an issue with living this close up front until this night. My room has one big window, and you can easily see in my room when I don't have blinds or curtains shut. I had a closet with mirror doors which you look in through the window, and you see every part from it. So, while I was waiting for my friends to get back, I fell asleep. The last time I looked at the clock, it was 3:30 in the morning. A key part in this is my bedroom light was on and I went to sleep. The next time I woke up, it was around 5:30 a.m. There were slow flashes going off and on. It was like I had a strobe light going off in the corner of my room. I woke up really confused and thought it was my friends coming back to mess with me. Once my eyes got more adjusted because the room was now dark, I realized that in fact it was not my friends messing with me, but a single man who was at least 6'1", wearing a green Nike hoodie with the hood on in the corner of my room by my closet holding a phone up taking pictures of me. Mind you, I had a tiny Sophie shorts on with one of my legs hanging out of my covers. I don't think he realized I'd woken up yet. When reality sunk in, I said, "What the hell?" And instead of coming at me or running out of my room, the man put the phone down and walked out of my room not saying anything. He wasn't in a panic, he just walked out. Me being the genius I am, I go running after him saying, "Hey!" I tried to follow him out, but once I got to the front door, I didn't see him anywhere. I ran back inside, woke up all my roommates and asked them if they were messing with me. When they said no, I called the police. I looked around my room and saw the only thing missing was my laptop that was on my desk in the far right corner of my room. The weirdest part about that was the fact that my laptop was the farthest part of my room with my door closed. Stranger still, outside in the kitchen on the counter was 3 other MacBook laptops, 2 wallets, and at least a $300 speaker. But the only thing missing from the whole apartment was my laptop. Later I found out that the front door and the patio door were never locked when everyone got back in for the night, and that the police couldn't find the guy or my computer. What made things worse was that the SIM disk from my camera was on the computer, so all of my personal photos from that camera were now accessible to this guy. Some things I saw a couple of days later while I was getting ready to move out freaked me out even more. Like I said earlier, if you looked into my window you could see my closet mirrors and just see about my whole room. One thing that was super noticeable was my tapestry. It was a very distinct and very different kind of tapestry. It has 2 wolves howling up to a moon that is all black and white. One day, when I was packing my car, I happened to look up, as it was starting to get dark, and I noticed in the apartment above mine, through the blinds on the wall, was the exact same tapestry like the one that was in my room. What creeped me out, even more, was the fact that I had little purple lights I put on in front of my room because my mom gave them to me and she knows my favorite color is purple. In that room, the lights in the fan were switched out for purple ones. As if it wasn't creepy enough, all black cat came up to the window, and my stomach started to feel weird because the year before I was still living in my room, I had gotten a baby kitten that was all black. In the end, the guy was never found and I never saw his face, which freaks me out to this day. I hope I never come across him again. I never got my laptop back and found my SIM disk to my camera. My best advice to anyone in college is to no matter what, always lock your doors, and you never know what you could wake up to.
So first of all, let me tell you how the story began in March of 2017. I am a 19-year-old male. My family and I moved to a new house in March 2017. I was really excited because this house was huge and had a beautiful garden with a pool and a hot tub. I'm not bragging about this information. It will be important later. When we moved in, the real estate agent told my parents that there had been a series of home invasions in our street and that our house and our neighbor's house were the only ones which hadn't been broken in yet. The first weird thing started to happen in May 2017. My room is at the patio, so when I look out my window, I can see the patio and the hot tub. At first, I could hear the gate of our garden being opened at night. This continued for the next 10 weeks. Sometimes we would go outside in the morning and all our lamps were bashed in. It's like our property is haunted by a poltergeist since we haven't seen anybody do these things. At first we thought some burglars are opening our garden gate at night because every morning my parents open the patio door so our dog can go outside and pee while my parents would get dressed to go for a morning walk. So I guess the burglars were hoping that our dog would run off so they would have it easy to enter our home. All of these incidents made my mom feel really unsafe in our own house. All of a sudden it stopped, so we thought the person who did this moved on or got bored. But after 5 months, everything started over again, but worse. It's November, and I wake up to hear footsteps outside my window. So I open my eyes and wish I wouldn't have done that. The moment I was so scared of actually happened. What I saw was a 6'3" man standing outside my window, watching me while I was asleep. He looked so old yet so young. He had this young face, but his haircut made him look 25 years older. At least that's what I could see in the dark. I was frozen. I couldn't move. So we just looked each other in the eyes for what felt like an eternity. Suddenly he ran off. So I took my chance and ran to my parents' room and told them everything. My dad grabbed his gun, which he is keeping at home now because he got worried over the last few months. He is a police officer. He ran outside but couldn't find the man, but found a broken gate, so he called the police. The police came, but they couldn't do much, and they left rather quickly. 2 months later, I woke up to splashing sounds. I got up and looked outside my window. I noticed the sounds were coming from the pool, but I couldn't see it due to the trees blocking my view. So I shrugged it off, because I thought there was just something wrong with the pump, which wasn't a rare thing. So I went back to bed, but I had a hard time falling back to sleep. The sounds grew louder and more intense, so I got up and went into the living room, which allows me to see the entire garden. When I look outside, I got the same feeling, which I had 2 months ago, when I spotted the guy outside my window. Anyway, I looked outside and saw the same man standing in our pool, draining the pool with a small cup, and I mean it how I said it. He was standing in our pool with a cup, throwing water onto the grass. He had a dead stare in his eyes like he didn't even know what he was doing. He noticed me watching and just smiled at me. I woke my dad up immediately and we called the police. They left as fast as they came since they didn't find anything but our empty pool. They said it was probably a homeless guy and he was washing himself. But I'm certain that he was not just washing himself. It's now August 2018. I've noticed weird cars in front of our house lately, and if someone would spot them, they would drive off. My parents left me alone this weekend since it was my uncle's birthday. I didn't want to come along, so I decided to stay home. I got bored all alone in this big home, so I called a couple friends of mine to come hang out at my place. They came around 7 p.m., and we started drinking some wine and listening to music. Time passes and it was now 11 p.m. when we heard someone knocking on our window of our living room. I thought I was imagining the knocks, but my friend looked at me like they were about to ask if I was expecting someone else. I turned off the music and listened, but all we heard was silence. I turned on the patio lights when a girlfriend of mine yelled, "Hey, there's someone running." I didn't see anyone, but I heard the gate slam shut. I was worried, but decided not to call the cops since they couldn't do anything anyway. I was really glad that my friend drank something and had to crash at my place, so I wouldn't be at home alone that night. Today is Saturday, and my friends left around 5 p.m. I was in my room when I heard something fall in my bathroom, so I got up to see what it was. When I walked towards my bathroom, I could see a person right behind the door. This person didn't know I spotted him, so I walked back into my room, got my phone, and called the police and my parents. When I passed the bathroom door, I saw the person was still in there. So I opened my camera and took a picture as proof for my family and friends. When I took the photo, my dumbass didn't think about the flash, so when I took the pic, the light illuminated the entire bathroom, and the door slammed shut, I thought this was my chance to abandon the house completely, so I ran out of the house and called the police. They arrived about 10 minutes later. They went inside and came out with the same man who was terrorizing my family for over a year now, half naked. The police said he was in the bathroom, just staring at the drain. He was constantly saying, "The cult elderly will eliminate you." Right now I'm sitting in my room, writing this story, and worrying about the cult he was talking about. Were the suspicious cars in the front of my house part of the cult, or was he just an insane man? The entire event doesn't seem to make much sense, and I don't know what is yet to come, but my family and I will be moving again in December. Thank God.
I live in a fairly secure area and have 2 dogs. One is a large Doberman and the other is a poodle. I was home alone as my parents were out for the weekend. Our dogs bark a lot as they are very protective, and the neighbors hated when the dogs barked, and we would often get notes telling us to keep the dogs quiet. One of the more threatening ones was that he would hurt the dog if it wouldn't be quiet. So, my parents had them taken to a dog kennel to avoid any complications. I was home alone playing video games and watching movies for the weekend. It was the night after they had left and I was playing Rainbow Six Siege. I was playing with a few friends and I had my microphone on. I was playing with my window open and my friends kept telling me to stop making a squeaky sound. I questioned what he meant and my friend said that there was a loud banging. I removed my headphones and that was when I heard the sound of something slamming into the gate. I peered out and saw a tall, stocky man with a black hood on looking down, slamming his body into the fence. As the fence was weak, the wood was splitting. I decided to call the police and I also decided to stay near the window. Still watching the man, I was talking to the 911 operator. The operator told me to lock myself in a room, get out of sight, and that a police officer was on the way. But curiosity got the better of me and I decided to continue watching the man. He finally broke the wooden gate off its hinges, but he didn't enter and strapped something around his shoulder, and upon further inspection, from the moonlight that I saw, it was a hunting rifle. I went and hid underneath the bed and listened out for anything until a loud shatter broke the silence. It was the back door smashing, followed by footsteps entering the house. The intruder sounded like he was searching for something. He was creeping up the stairs until the sound of police sirens flooded my ears, and I made the stupid decision of bolting. I was trying to escape the house and I started to get to the upstairs, and turned the corner and was greeted by a large man fitting the description of the man trying to break in. The man gripped my neck and the police sirens got louder and the police were knocking on the door. I was quickly losing breath from the man strangling me. He had a cloth covering his face. I slipped it off and realized it was my neighbor. I was nearly out of breath when he let me go, gripping his rifle and aimed it at me and pulled the trigger. Thankfully, the idiot left the safety on and the police kicked the door down and tasered the man. The man was arrested and was charged with breaking and entering and carrying an unlicensed firearm. I'm thankful that the safety was on, as this could have ended very badly. I later went to my Xbox and told my friends what happened and that I almost died, and they were very concerned.
It was early July. I had just begun my senior year of college, but was home for the summer. While at home, I met Lisa on Tinder. Lisa lived in the same town as my college and invited me to come stay with her for the weekend. I happily obliged because that booty. The weekend with Lisa went great. We started dating. I returned a couple weeks later. It's now late July or early August 2012. My housing for the upcoming year was going to be in our fraternity housing, off campus. We had a main house, the big house, and a smaller house in the backyard, the little house. I needed to clean up the little house as I was going to move into it, since it was left pretty filthy by the previous tenants. Lisa offered to help, so we spent most of our time in there. The little house was stockpiled with furniture that people had left for the summer instead of taking home. There were probably 6 or 7 couches stuffed into a teeny living room, so you literally had to hop from one to another to navigate the room, which we made a game of it, and made great use of them during the weekend. Sorry, bros. To give you an idea of the layout, the little house was a ranch-style brick home with 3 adjacent bedrooms at the back of the house, and a kitchen and living room at the front. The front door entered directly into the living room. The side door, if entering the home, was off to the right, on the far side of the kitchen. In the living room was one large 6x8 glass window covered with blackout curtains at the front of the house. Okay, so here's the story. It's late, probably around 11 p.m. Lisa and I were tuckered out, and we cuddled up on one of the couches to watch the London Olympics. She dozed off, head on my chest, and I'm left there happily pinned down. Suddenly, the front doorknob starts to shake. I'm caught off guard because it's summer in an empty college town, and we weren't expecting anyone. It stops for a moment, then the doorknob shakes more violently this time. Thankfully, it's locked. As I prepared to slide out from under Lisa to investigate, 3 loud bangs against the door as if someone was trying to kick it open. Their attempt failed. I'm partially relieved, but I'm still aware that there are 2 doors that they could enter. Lisa is awake now, delirious and frantic. What's going on? What was that? I hushed her and told her to get up and go to the back of the house, and to go into the bedroom and lock the door until I personally came to get her. She refused, but I demanded. She scurried across the couches and locked herself in the back room. I ran to the far side of the kitchen to make sure the side door was locked. It is. Okay, we're alright for now. Thinking to myself, weapon, what can I use? Shit, I wish I had a gun. Maybe the brothers left something. Shotgun would be ideal. I see a hunting bow with a few arrows. No, that's too cumbersome. Keep looking. Golf club, 6-iron. Perfect. Everything is silent, aside from the pounding heartbeat and the faint sound of Lisa calling the cops from the back room. I'm standing in the kitchen and have a view of the front door and the side door while clutching the golf club, when suddenly the side door knob starts shaking and there's a couple of bangs at the door. Lisa screams from the back of the house, and I yell at the intruder. We're in here. We called the cops. They'll be here any second. Leave us alone. The banging stops. It's silent. Dead silent. We wait for the cops to come. Lisa and I are in the living room, full of couches. 2 full hours pass. It's now something like 2:30, and still no signs of the cops. I'm both exhausted from the adrenaline crash, and angry that the cops had not come. We call them again. 911, what's your emergency? Hi, we called about 2 hours ago to report an intruder, but no cops ever came. Are you still in the home? Did the intruders make it inside? Yes, we're inside. They didn't get in, but I'm scared that they're going to come back. The operator asked me for my address. I'm literally spelling out my address. The front door gets slammed, kicked again. I holler at the 911 operator. They're back. Please help. Hurry. Officers are on their way. Stay on the phone. Keep away from the windows and doors. Lisa is freaking out. I'm freaking out, wielding a golf club again. And suddenly, the entire front window, all 6x8, shatters to pieces. The glass is mostly contained by the black curtains. And I screamed the girliest, most blood-curdling scream I could imagine. I stood up and started swinging the golf club wildly, hoping to make contact with whatever or whoever was coming into the house. Moments later we hear sirens, and I could faintly see the blue lights swirling outside through the split in the curtains. A megaphone announces the police presence. They scour the area, and eventually knock on the door. Apparently, someone did try to kick down both doors, and there are boot prints to prove it. The window was shattered by a malt liquor bottle. They ended up finding a drunk dude from the trailer park nearby who had been roaming the area. I bought a gun the next day.
Thanks for listening to these allegedly true, creepy stories about break-ins. If you enjoyed these stories, be sure to hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss a new video, as I upload them almost every single day, and all things natural and supernatural. Much love and thanks to my friend Bad Vibe Storytelling who helped me read some of these stories today. If you enjoyed his voice and the stories that he read, be sure to subscribe to his channel. You can find the link to do so in the description down below and the pinned comment. Thank you guys very much for always supporting. If you guys have a story that you would like to share in a future video, be sure to send that in at swampdweller.net or the email you can find in the description down below. I'll see you guys soon with another creepy video.